Welcome back to Q4D at IDC 2026. Today's topic is connection. Who are you? What do you do? And why are you here at IDC?
Yeah, great question to start off with. My name's Casey Morgan. I work for Autodesk. We're a sponsor of IDC. And we're here because we traditionally make engineering software, the design and manufacturing software, but we know a lot of those designs start with an idea, industrial design, conceptual design. So we want to encourage the use of our tools within that community, but also what does that community want? What are they looking for in those tools? How can we make them better designers, better engineers through the use of our software and technology?
Great. And what are some of the gaps you're seeing in maybe fidelity?
Yeah, good question. Some of the gaps we're seeing are, you have an idea, you have some medium you create that on. It can be paper, it can be like a Miro board, it can be some collaboration software. And then really quickly that needs to go into a detailed design requirements doc, which isn't necessarily these designers' forte. So you need to say, what's the weight, what's the mass, what's the fabric, how much does it cost? And then that goes into a detailed design, and then that can downstream be manufactured. That's kind of the biggest gap we're seeing here. And then of course, then it all feeds back once the design is formalized and you figure out that material's not available anymore. Go back to the design. Can we change that? So
Autodesk has a lot of built up entities within itself. Do you guys reach out and partner with others to kind of help fill in some of those gaps in the large entities you already developed?
Yeah, we do. The workflows traditionally have been pretty linear. If you remember that telephone game you used to play as a kid where it was like, the yellow boat goes fast, and then you tell someone and they tell someone, and then at the end you get like something that's not as authentic as what you originally thought your design was.
Right.
What we're trying to do is make that more a hub and spoke model. So kind of Autodesk is at the center with a bunch of strategic partners around the outside. One of the partners that we work with to fill one of those gaps in conceptual design is a company called Viscom. So they do a lot of AI-powered design. You can come up with an idea, you can make sketches, you're creating a birdhouse, I want a bird to fly in, I want a background of a tree. And then you can seamlessly kind of translate that into a CAD model where you get the requirements you needed. This is wood, it needs to be 12 inches high, it needs to withstand, 4 ounces of a bird, things like that. So all throughout the workflow from ideation until you have a manufactured good in your hands, we try to make sure that that's as seamless as possible, and we try to make that fill those gaps with partners along the way.
So today's theme is connection. So it's really apropos that you guys are establishing these relationships with third-party vendors, and how do you internally make sure that workflow really feels seamless to the designer, but then also as it goes through to manufacturing?
Yeah, that's a good question. We go to the customers that use our products, and a lot of times those are designers, right? And we interview them and we talk to them about how can we make this workflow better for you? Where are you running into challenges? You create a water bottle or a baby monitor. At the end of that manufacturing process, how can we make it so the idea that you intended, the authenticity of that, is the actual product that comes out at the end of the day. So it's really feedback from the ecosystem, right? It's making those connections. It's designers, manufacturers, different people around the world. That's really the best resource we have for improving those products.
So we're talking a lot about the technology side, and you guys are a technology company, but the end product is being used by people and in general for people. So how do you retain personality? How do you retain individuality within softwares that Autodesk delivers?
That's a good question. I think what we try to do is connect as much data as possible to make those kind of design decisions early on, keeping the intent of what a creator would want to actually create. If you're a designer these days, you have to think about cost, availability, like all these things. And as you go along the design cycle, little changes here and there, that electronics board won't fit in there, or that plastic's not available,
Right.
or you can't ship that to this country. Those little design changes along the way can have large implications, right?
Right.
So as much information as we can give to the designers early on, maybe it's connecting the end manufacturer with the designer and enabling those conversations to go, hey, we can make that, but you need to make the wall a little thicker or else it's going to break. Then it's like, okay, the designer can actually make the wall thicker, and then maybe that leads to another design, and then they can work back and forth, and through all those links of the chain, it's enabling that design to have authenticity and fidelity all the way to the manufacturing phase.
Awesome, that's great. So is there anything you are looking forward to here at the conference, along with engaging with your marketplace?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just having this many influential designers and people in the industry in one place. Like, if I was to sit and set up Zoom calls or team calls with like all these people, that's a year-long project, right? Here, I can knock it out in like 3 days, and I can talk to people, and it's not just one-on-one conversations, but it's groups of people. Oh, Max, is this what you're seeing in the market? Oh, yeah, but you should talk to Ken over there, those things. So, and us getting closer to the community. Like, we used to sponsor IDSA. We took a couple years off, but Autodesk getting a lot closer, I think, is invaluable for our future.
That's great. Yeah. Thank you so much for connecting with us today. Absolutely. And connecting with all the members here at IDSA.
Yeah, it's been authentic. Thanks, Mac.
Appreciate it. Who are you? What do you do? And why are you at IDC?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's step back. I am Amy Guile. I am the founder and CEO of Silverdraft Supercomputing.
Okay.
I am here because Autodesk is a phenomenal partner with us. We have a lot of the same clients. Our goals together with regards to collaboration to meet the needs of clients really, when they said, oh, can you come down here and meet some people and kind of see what this is all about? I was like, of course, absolutely. So that is why I am here today.
Excellent, welcome.
Yeah,
and thank you for supporting IDSA.
Absolutely.
Earlier, we were talking with Casey about connections and the partnerships that Autodesk brings in to help fill in the gaps. Where does that apply to you?
Well, we're one of those partners that fills in the gaps. We look at when we design the compute for the workflow, and I say workflow very deliberately instead of workload, right? So that we are designing for what the artists are doing, the applications that they're creating, and the specific tasks around that. And Autodesk's applications really help the creatives visualize, give them the freedom of what it is that they're wanting to do, and opens up the imagination. But with that, there's other critical pieces that come into play, hence those other partners. We actually build and design the compute to meet those needs. Rather than looking at technology as components and pieces and the GPU and the RAM that goes into these systems, which are very, very important, we actually focus on the specific applications and then all the ancillary pieces of hardware that also need to connect together to give them the tools to open up that freedom. And so we're one of those partners with Autodesk to help give the designers and the artists the freedom to do what the amazing things that they do.
Awesome. Can you walk us through a little bit of what the workflows you're talking about, how that actually connects the dots?
So, when it comes to compute, let's say automotive, for example, traditionally we would build, here's the stack of the artist workstations. The designers are using these systems to design and create. Then we have our rendering stack, and then we have our AI stacks, on-prem AI to keep that nice and safe and in-house, and your design review session systems where you're going into your virtual environments and you're seeing kind of, how does this product look? Now we're really looking at, how can we build flexible architecture that encompasses all of that? Because idle compute or idle GPUs
Yeah.
are not sustainable, right? They're sitting there when they could be in use. So now we're looking at architecture where we're saying, okay, this is the workflow of the design studio. The artist, for an example, and this is not how every artist studio is,
Right.
but the designers are working in the morning, they're doing a design review in the afternoon, maybe they've got rendering going on in the early evening, and then it's crunching out AI in the middle of the night, right? Just an example. So
Right.
you can design compute where it's this stack that is in the morning. It happens to be divided up as artist workstations. It's shifting over to the systems that you need for design review in the afternoon. It's all combines back together as your rendering systems, and then it's used as your AI systems. And there's just ways that we can do a better job on the footprint of compute and technology so that they're not thinking about it. If they're thinking about, if a creative or a designer or an artist is thinking about the technology or the compute, then we're not doing our job. It's not about us.
It needs to be behind the
It
scenes.
needs
and-
to be irrelevant,
Yeah,
really.
gotcha.
Really irrelevant. And it's about freeing up the artist, because the freer the artist is, the more creative they're going to be.
Right.
And that takes the collaboration. So at Silverdraft, we team up with Autodesk with the incredible applications that the artists and designers need to use. We team up with Linkage, who is doing just this incredible job of training the artists with these applications. And then McDine, I don't know if you know McDine, but they do incredible integration of all of these things together as well, because it takes this team and this collaboration.
It's a full ecosphere.
It's a full ecosphere
Yeah.
to make it happen. And so that whether it is an automotive design center or, products, they don't have to worry about that side of things.
Great.
And, technology is one of those things that you're always like playing catch up to.
Sure.
We want to make it so that it's not technology isn't a Band-Aid. The technology is scaling with them, right? So it's, you're building upon it and adding to it.
How do you do that with the fast evolution of hardware versus the even faster evolution of software and that kind of mesh between?
So when we design per the application,
Sure.
it's not the specs of hardware that you're saying, okay, this application needs X, Y, and Z to run on.
Right.
I'm going to buy a computer to run on that. Because by the time it's out of date, by the time you're doing those specs,
It's so fast.
you're already behind the wheel there. So since we collaborate with the software providers,
Right.
we're architecting for those applications. When you're getting that system, it is the latest and greatest of that. So
Gotcha.
you're coming out of the gate ahead. And then we also architect compute in a way that it's upgradable, right? You're
Gotcha.
not starting over in 3 years. This whole idea of it's a computer, 3 years, one
Up
and
door.
done.
Yeah.
No, we plan for what's happening on the software side so that hardware can scale with you, and then we can upgrade that along the way, and it sort of becomes plug and play as well, right? We can connect one to another. So as that organization is growing and expanding, so is the technology. That's the backbone behind
So
them.
that's what those connections and relationships build on, is that you've got a much more integrated approach.
Absolutely. And we don't build technology that we think is just, this is cool technology. We actually sit with the designers and the creatives and say, what are your pain points? What works for you? What doesn't work for you? So that we're only building the technology that they're asking for and that they need. Because that collaboration goes all directions, right? From the client and the designer to your partners to the other technology companies involved, and
That's very much a design process
it
in
is,
technology.
right? It is, and it's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. Maybe that's why we relate
works.
so more.
Yeah.
I mean, we started, I started Silverdraft to free the artist from technology.
Yeah.
And we are not a huge, massive company deliberately, because we have this niche that we want to make sure that we are meeting for our clients. Now,
That's great.
Even when it comes to AI, was obviously a very sweet spot for us. We build very high performance, dense compute. Our IPs around our thermal management, so on-prem AI.
Okay.
But on-prem AI that is secure, that stays in-house to our clients, so their IP is protected.
Right.
But also that is a smarter, safer way to run AI, right?
Gotcha.
Greener, more sustainable, but also enables you to use it for other things. So,
Great.
yeah.
So what kind of conversations are you looking to have here at the conference with all these
All these
potential resources for you?
Well, I just want to hear their thoughts, hear their needs, so that we can better build our products and meet their needs. You know, as the CEO of Silverdraft, I think it's really important for me to make sure I'm always listening and hearing what they need, what they want, what their challenges are, and what excites them. I can imagine when it comes to AI, there's mixed fears and thoughts around that, and really helping them understand that it's another tool. And tools are tools, but tools used correctly can become freedoms to their creativity. And so there needs to be a nice balance there. But I'm here to listen, absorb, take everything in, and see if there's ways that we can help and support, because I also think there's this mix of the professional and the student. And that bridge between the two is so important. I mean, Autodesk has always done a really good job at that. And so how we can, get those two communicating and working together, and then our mindset of how we're listening on both sides of it, so that we continue to evolve as a company to meet those needs.
It's funny, I've been having a lot of these conversations around not just AI, but the pace of this technology compared to when CAD came out. It was a slow evolution of 2D drawing, and it didn't sneak up on us. It moved faster, but it was not overnight. And now the pace of AI, the students, the educators, and the profession are all learning at the same time.
And how quickly you adapt this into, what you're teaching the students, into your business, into your environment
and the clients, what they expect or what they know or don't know.
Yeah.
So that it's constantly changing, and I think that is part of the fear. Whereas we saw computer-aided graphics coming. We saw, Photoshop, Illustrator, all of that evolved at a pace we understood. This is very new for us, and when handled properly, it's a great tool. It's a very powerful tool.
And that's one of the things that's really important to us and McDine is we hold the client's hand. They don't have to worry about staying ahead of it or letting that fear freeze them, because I think that's honestly what happens with new tech. There's all of this new stuff, and let's just status quo, right? How to integrate that in a way that disruptive technology doesn't disrupt, right?
It empowers.
And empowers, and sometimes you do that fairly slowly, right? And you kind of create this sort of roadmap of the backbone of what's going to come. So it's like, okay, we're not doing that right now, but we're going to do that in 3 months, and you do it very strategically to incorporate it in, so that you're not disrupting the designer or the artist. You're empowering them in a thoughtful way versus, okay, here's something new, we're throwing it at you, or just breaking the whole system. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. They already have a process. You're working to improve that process, not like throw it all out and start over. And so, these partnerships are important because then we're able to really, with the client, help them adopt these technologies without like breaking the bank or the workflow or the whole thing, right? It's like,
Amy, thank you very much for
oh my
sitting
gosh,
down with
absolutely,
us. Appreciate the
absolutely.
conversation and
It's a pleasure.
appreciate
It's a
the
pleasure.
connection.
You got it. Have a good one. Thank you.
Who are you? What do you do? And what brings you to IDC?
All right, my name is Funam Bagley. I'm a partner and creative director at Nonfiction. I lead two departments there, one in industrial design and the other one in aerospace architecture. And so I have degrees in both of these disciplines, and I've been practicing for over 20 years. I'm originally from France, but I've been living in the US for 21 years. So for those who don't know, aerospace architecture is the field where I design environments and technology for astronauts to live and thrive in space. And as a side, job and kind of like focus of my life, I'm also an explorer. So I go to the most extreme places on planet Earth to learn about how to best design for the average person. And why am I at IDC? I'm actually the jury chair of the IDA Awards this year. Not only have I been in charge of leading the jury to choose the best in design excellence, but also I have taken upon myself the role of redesigning the awards. So the awards have been pretty much the same for 46 years, and we are changing the awards from category-based to impact category-based.
That's amazing. Great to actually see changes happening in something that is so long-standing and maybe doesn't function the way it was intended.
No, I mean, it was created at a time where design was very different.
Yeah.
So design is not only looking to the future, because we literally design the future, but it's also moving at a dizzying speed, right? New technologies coming in, new redefinitions of what design is, where its edges are and how it influences other industries. That changes all the time. So as an organization, IDSA not only has to know what is changing, but also has to lead where it's changing.
Great. That is impressive to hear, and glad to see you take the lead and make changes, not just talk about changes. So today's topic is about connections. What do you think strong connections make a difference to a design or in design in general?
I will start with defining the difference between the 20th and the 21st century. The 20th century was focused on siloing expertise, right? That's where you had a lot of university research, science, medicine, advancements. It gave us great things like the expansion of, like quality of life and longevity and things like that. But it also gave us world scale conflict and inequalities. What changed in the 21st century is we started creating connections between all of these expert groups that traditionally didn't talk to each other. And so now we have fields like design, which, if you really think about it, is the connection between engineering and arts and business. And now, in the second quarter of the 21st century, we're adding more to it, like more technology and science and other aspects of our imagination to make it a lot richer and a lot more connected in ways that we couldn't define before. And so yeah, to me, connection is about creating those bridges, and I've worked with some brilliant people in the world, some scientists and technologists and all that, but nobody is better placed than designers and people trained in design to create the bridges and the connections necessary to push us to the future. Another connection that's very important to me and to the work that I do is the connection between the past and the future by way of the present. So when I think of traditional medicine, for example, bush medicines in the plains of Australia, or in places like West Africa, or the Inuits in North Canada. There's a lot of wisdom, there's a lot of knowledge, there's a lot of known experience that we have pushed away because it belonged to the past, or it was not peer-reviewed science.
Yeah.
But we actually live in an era right now where we are starting to understand the actual wisdom of it, and starting to prove with what we call materialistic science that all that's been discovered is actually works for the benefits of not only humans but also the environment and the connection between the two. And so that connection, this is just an example of how the past and the future connect in beautiful ways, and the present is finally recognizing it as a beautiful thing, right? It can be applied to many other instances, but these are just two examples of like how connection is really making today's world so incredibly interesting, and a lot to discover. And right now we have tools like AI that can help us make those connections that are not necessarily in front of us, right? Whether our jobs or our lives are not exposing us to them, or our inability to like live in those like extreme environments is not opening our eyes enough. So having a common language between different disciplines is going to be very important. For example, some people in the science and research world only speak to each other in jargon and white papers, whereas designers, for the most part, talk in experiences and sensory, outputs, whether it's visual, auditory, or otherwise. And then business, is all about understanding how decisions and ideas turn into profit. And so understanding where our individual language lies and where the overlaps exist is going to create the connections that really are going to build the foundation of where we want to build tomorrow.
That is excellent, Phenom. Thank you for making this connection. Thank you for spending time with us, and have a great conference.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Right. Welcome. Who are you? What do you do? And why are you here at IDC?
Sure. My name is Aoi Minamoto. I'm a controls engineer at Toyota Battery Manufacturing in North Carolina. I'm also a startup founder. It's called AImoji. It's been 3 years and I have 3 products. Today I'm here to attend IDC 2026 because I was invited to give a speech that my title is Less is More. How does my personal experience and disabilities tell me about what is authenticity in design?
Awesome. Welcome. So, what do connections in design? How does that make a better design?
Sure. I believe the design should connect human beings with the goals that they want to achieve. For example, a pair of glasses connect to me because it helps me to raise my vision into a standard level that I can see clear. And my design also follow this way that I apply the human-centered technology to my design. At work, I design AI system to make sure safety is the number one goal we achieve in production. And in my startup, it's the same way.
Excellent. So you're at Toyota in the engineering department, which is a handshake with design. How do you pull design philosophies and interact with design using AI and making a better product or a safer environment?
Sure, thank you. This is a great question. I'm a data scientist for about 19 years in Japan and US. The way I connect this goal is I make sure AI give us the standardization of information, that we have this foundation and all the data stored by following this standardization give us the clear information. So when we have the same page, it removes the defect. So it is the foundational problem that we will avoid the defect from the information layer. And above
Gotcha.
that, we can build the safety.
Excellent, excellent. So with your startup,
Yes.
what made you decide to do your own thing?
Right, thank you. It's very important. So I have been designing 14 products so far since 2016. And currently my product is called KinaBot. It's an AI-powered tool that analyzes the features from voice and gives a score to the user, enable user to monitor their cognitive level over time.
Oh, wow.
So yes, because cognitive level, it is measurable, but you need to go to the neurologist to have the brain scan. It costs $3,000 in California. But how about every one of us can measure our cognitive level, as we can measure how tall we are, how heavy we are, right?
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yes, so my tool enables this possible. Everyone can measure their cognitive level through their voice.
That's incredible. It's such a unique use of AI in both giving us information about who we are and
Yes.
what status we're at.
Yes, that's true. So it converts the information from something existing in the brain, which is very difficult to see. You have to use the brain scan, to the methodology that, because everyone talks, we talk a lot every day,
Yeah.
and having the conversation data is almost $0 cost.
Right.
But the outcome is so valuable. So it
Right.
can tell people and their family from when the cognitive level started to decline. And that is a very important step to treat because all the treatments nowadays will start from the decline point.
So what was your inspiration for that? Why was there an experience that led to that?
Yeah.
Why cognitive decline?
Right, thank you. Yes, here's a story I'm going to share. 4 years ago, I came to the United States by myself, and I really miss my grandmother. She's 85 years old.
Okay.
She lives by herself in Japan. The only way connect us is the voice. I call her and we talk. Often I think, as a data scientist, what is my best way to show my love to her, that do something valuable to her?
Yeah.
And that gives me the inspiration to invent KinaBot. So I apply natural language processing to extract the feature from conversations and score it and store the score. So by observing the scores going up and down, I will understand her cognitive level up and down. So that is the way I invent it.
This is great. What's interesting is seeing that something so technical and scientific, and you add in AI, which a lot of that technology feels very unpersonal to a lot of people, and you're applying it to something extremely personal and
Yes.
making that connection closer.
Yeah, thank you. Exactly. So this tool enables users just to compare with themselves. The LLM, there are so much models. It's good, but it was made by millions of people's data. But our tool only track your own data, so you compare with yourself. So if the new score drops from your own baseline, it means your cognitive level drops. And we do not diagnose, but we tell you what is happening through your conversation.
Oh,
and
okay.
this can be a trigger to let the user and their family decide to visit the neurologist to find the reason out.
That is amazing. It's great to see something that fundamentally on the same theory as training for golf, where
Yes.
you're competing against yourself and
Exactly.
getting better, or you understand what that decline is.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah, that's
great.
my goal. I put the human in the center and to tell everyone your baseline matters. And we should manage our cognitive level as easy as we measure our weight. We manage our height, our vision.
That's fantastic. Howie,
Thank
you
you.
very much for joining us. Thank you for this connection. Thank you for answering questions for
Yeah,
designers.
thank you for having me here.
You're welcome. Welcome. Who are you? What do you do? And why are you here at IDC?
Hi. I'm Bailey. I'm the CEO and founder of Nudina. We are a product design and development company working to make product design and development more accessible to communities that traditionally didn't see that access.
What was it like and what drove you to start your own business?
I think deep inside I always knew that I wanted to have my own company. I actually had a business concentration in school. I just thought that it would be a journey in my 30s. So I started a little sooner than I expected. What led me to entrepreneurship, honestly, it was forced. I was working at a small ID firm in Chicago, and I was working on some really, really exciting projects, and I really enjoyed the work that I was doing. But unfortunately, I experienced the other side that can happen when you're in maybe unhealthy work environments. And so what it did for me is it made me really question me as a designer and if this was the right industry for me. And so that led me back home, back to Detroit. I actually was born on 313 Day, so I'm aggressively on brand. And so that led me back home, and I went back to CCS because that's always kind of been a safe place to be. And I started teaching, and at first I didn't really know what to expect. I always enjoyed it, but it was different this time because I was coming from a different place in my life. And so what came out of it is I refilled my cup. So I left Chicago thinking, I don't even know if I want to do industrial design anymore. And after coming back home and teaching a bit, I came back and I said, wait, no. I love design, it's just that my relationship with design has to change. And for me, that change was entrepreneurship.
Great, that's great to see somebody coming from my alma mater, CCS, Detroit, and seeing the relationship change. And I think today we're talking about connections, and how did your connections that both you made in school and as a young professional help shape why you became an entrepreneur, and how does it affect you today?
Wow, that's a great question. Honestly, I think it has shaped everything. I definitely wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the relationships that I've built. And not just for myself, the relationships that my parents built for me prior. My mother was, or is, an interior architect. She further went to construction management. And so seeing her transition to that was like, as a young girl, I mean, I watched her walk across the stage, I watched her do all of these things. And so it was really not just inspiring, but it was kind of like, that's where I have to start there, you know?
And it was empowering.
And so looking at that and looking at how she had developed these relationships and how she passed it on to me, it's essential, I guess.
Now, when you start to look at how those relationships impacted you, as you've become now a design leader, how do you see your relationship with the next generation, the coming generation?
Oh, I think that's actually really, really important for me. I think the way I look at design, I really want to be somebody who leaves something when I go. And so the whole reason that I started Nudina was not just from that experience that I had at the last agency that I was working at, but it was more so tied to the idea of being from Detroit. Like we have this like energy, we have this lifeblood, we have these ideas, these concepts, and maybe we don't always have the right avenues or the means or even the right access to the right people who may know how to help us make this thing be. And I think that's the biggest gap that I've found. And that's kind of how Nudina was started. It was, how do we make it a little bit more accessible? And as we started practicing, we started as just an ID firm, and that's not how we would define ourselves today. But when we started, we were really just a service-based business, and we were looking to design physical products. So we were working with startups, founders who were building physical products, and we learned a lot of things working with them. We learned that you don't know what you don't know.
That's a great thing.
Yeah, we learned that one. But then the other thing is just having access to the right ecosystem at the right time. And also recognizing that a prototype is a tool and not the final thing all the time. And when you can accept that, it really changes your perspective when you're designing and producing something. And so what we ended up doing is kind of rebuilding our whole business model from the beginning of this year. And so I'm actually really excited to talk a little bit more about that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'd love to hear more. It sounds like you're creating more of a startup incubator, but from the lens of a designer.
Oh wow, I love that. Thank you, I feel flattered. Yeah, I mean, what we're trying to do is essentially we built a platform that allows for product builders, whether you are traditionally trained or not, or you're just someone who has an idea for a product that should exist in this world. We've built a platform that allows for you to have a clear journey to follow as you're building this product. And then along the way, when you recognize there's a point where, hey, I do need to talk to an expert, I need an engineer, right. I need to talk to an industrial designer, I need a color materials specialist. We've made this system that creates curated pods so that we can apply those pods to whatever that consumer or user is needing that pod to be accessed for. We're targeting and starting with beauty-based products, so beauty and personal care products. We're looking at small consumer electronic products and home and office products, just because the entry is a little bit lower.
Yeah.
And I think if we can do really strong work there, then we can branch out. We're definitely excited. I think future thinking, I really get excited about robotics and medical.
Oh wow, that's great. So you had mentioned that your goal is to reach out to communities that don't always get this kind of service. How do you go about doing that, and where did that come from?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we actually operate out of New Lab at Michigan Central. It's a really exciting development in Detroit. Ford actually purchased the train station a couple years ago, and they completely revitalized it, making a new tech campus right in the heart of Detroit. And we are lucky enough to operate out of that building. And what that has gained us is the opportunity to work with those startups. So whether it's a company that's adding RFID tags to garments, or is a company that's building wearable red light therapy, you kind of have all these different solutions that are being created, but what you will find is a common problem.
Right.
They don't really know what comes next.
Yeah. So you're bringing not just the solution for them, but the pathway.
Yeah,
to
the
solution.
systems.
Yeah.
The systems. That's really important.
That's great. That's great. What do you see is important about staying connected as technology starts ramping up? How do we keep connected to humans?
That's a good question. We have to be more comfortable asking uncomfortable questions, and not just like why, right? But we got to be more comfortable with having more uncomfortable moments.
Okay.
I think, especially now, we're in a really interesting time across the entire globe. Everybody's experiencing lots of changes.
Yeah.
And I think that what that opens for us is that we recognize that people are coming from all different walks of life. People are coming from all different perspectives, all different demographics, different classes, but we all have similar issues, similar problems. But we have to open that door to have more comfortable conversations with each other. I think that's the only way that we move past it, right? Technology is going to keep going. Everything's going to keep moving.
Right.
We define those things, and we have to be comfortable with doing that.
So truly using the technology as a tool, not as the pathway itself.
Yeah. Especially when we're thinking about AI, if that's what we're,
It's hard to avoid, even though, like, there are still lots of design pathways that you don't ever have to touch AI.
Yeah.
but it's part of our industry, and it's, you know, all parts of life, not just design tools,
Yeah.
but, you know, and so now we have expectations from our clients, our consumers, whether that expectation is from a fear standpoint,
Yeah.
or from an unreal or unmet expectation because of what they've seen or heard.
I mean, and ironically, I think that what you're also finding is that people seem more clever than they may be nowadays. But genuinely, they can be. I mean, you may talk to a company and they may come to you and they may sound like a straight engineer, and they're reading straight from a prompt. But that's, I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying that now you have access to knowledge that was not accessible before. But what do you do to curate that? Because if it's just raw knowledge that's not being applied in the right ways, then you're still going to repeat the same problems. We're still going to have the same cost creep, that may happen. So I think that human side, that practice that we have through being designers and doing this, that's still very valuable. AI cannot replace those things, at least not at this point in time.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, hopefully not. I hope that that's still an edge, you know. And if not, I think that, you know, just as, you know, we were scared that, you know, that when cars were invented, you know, I mean, horses are still around. You can still ride a horse if you want to, but the technology is still going to be here. So we have to adapt. I think that we have so much power, more power than we think, and how we adapt and use those tools. So,
Bailey, thank you for answering questions for designers. Thank you for making this connection with us. Have a great day.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's day 2 at IDC 2026. Tomorrow's topic is values.